just a heads up. You might want to adjust your volume accordingly because the video is louder in some places than it is in others, and I couldn't really help that. So, sorry the inconvenience, and enjoy the video.
So I was just sitting there reading, and then it dawned on me. This might be my favorite genre. Hey you guys, what's up? It's the Anime Blaze coming to you with another video, that is right. And in this particular video, if you've read the title correctly, today I'm going to be giving you guys some horror, anime, and manga recommendations. And this video isn't so much planned as it is impromptu, because I've literally, as you guys probably saw in the intro, I literally just came up with this idea after reading one of my manga books that I actually have, and it's pretty interesting. So I want to get that out there, and I'm not an expert in the horror field of anime or anything like that, but I've read my fair share of it, and I want to give you guys, I guess, a look into what you might actually like, some of the good stuff, some of the stuff you might want to stay away from, and you know, just all around cool stuff that I found from my perspective. So keep that in mind. This is just coming from my perspective. No expertise or anything, just a random guy who watches anime, reads manga, and wants to give you guys some cool stuff that you might want to check out. So, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to start on manga, then move on to a few anime, and then from there go on to some honorable mentions that I really, really enjoy and you might want to check out as well. Okay, so the first thing we're going to talk about is my favorite, the go-to guy that I have for anybody who asks me about horror manga. My go-to guy that I always tell them about is Junji Ito. This guy is like a freaking genius as far as like drawing and stuff goes. Because and the reason I say that he's a genius is because when you mostly think of horror, you think of like jump scares and obvious predictability kind of thing, like predictable situations and stuff like that. Well, this guy doesn't rely on jump scares or really anything like that so much as he builds off of suspense and psychological mind games with the reader to try to amp them up and keep them suspended with the story and make them like think, and then boom, shock value. And the shock value effect is what gets me and a lot of other people. And for that, I really do praise him. His artwork that he does to get that shock value, he does really, really detailed, grotesque, mostly grotesque, and sometimes really, really eerie, creepy drawings to really get in your head and mess with you a little bit. So if you are offended by, I guess, blood, gore, really weird stuff like that in general, I would recommend that you stay away from this series because you might be frightened. Yeah, obviously this series is for mature audiences, so keep that in mind. The number one series that I recommend for my own personal collection that I actually own is Tomie, which I will show you guys real quick. This is Volume 1, Museum of Terror, which is kind of rare and hard to find now, and so is Volume 2 of Tomie, and so is Volume 3 as well, which isn't even Tomie, but you get the idea. The Anime Hero told me that I bought those two volumes for like $26 total, and for some reason now Volume 1 is going for $78 and Volume 2 is going for who knows how long. And even if you want to buy the series, you can't even buy the original print that first came out for Tomie, that was printed the wrong way, like from left to right, instead of the more accurate way that they printed out in Japan. And even those are going for like $100 each. So I recommend that if you do find that series, that you guys get it, for a reasonable price, so you don't get cheated or suckered or whatever, because that would be very, very bad. I don't want that to happen to you guys. Also, check out Uzumaki. That series is just as creepy as Tomie, if not better. Also, check out the Anime Heroes channel. It's pretty cool. The next series I would definitely recommend to anybody. If it's not made by Junji Ito, this is the next series I always recommend to people, and that is The Collapse of the World as We Know It. The Anime Hero knows about this series as well. This series is a bunch filled with chapters that are one-off No, it's filled with one-off chapters of stories dealing with either folklore, fairy tales, you name it, whatever. It could be anything random in general, and it really just takes it and does kind of what Junji Ito does: shock value, randomness. But this one is more dealing with shock value, randomness, sometimes weird, laughable situations, sometimes morbid. So keep that in mind if you do decide to read that series. Also, as well, I should also mention that this series has just gotten new chapters in as of like last month. So go and check that out. It's only available online as far as I can tell. It's never had an actual print, an English release, or any other release in any country I've seen. So definitely go and read The Collapse of the World as we know it. And yeah, have a good laugh, have a few cringe moments, and you'll be fine if you do make it through the chapters, that is. But that's that. Now, we're going to move on to the anime portion of this recommendations video. There aren't too many horror anime out there, and yes, I say that, like, I mean, there's probably a lot out there, but I'm saying the ones that are actually good. I mean, there's Genocyber and, a lot of other stuff. But I'm going to stick with the ones that I know of right now. So the one that I can recommend you guys right off the bat is Shiki. And the reason I didn't go with the more obvious choice, which I'm going to get to in a second, is because Shiki manages to take the much tortured and stomped down genre of vampires and puts it back on the map in a horrific kind of way, and adds more mystery and suspense to the story. The first part of the story is kind of slow. The second half of the series builds up into the peak and slams it back down with a hunt and a lot of other stuff that's going on in this village. And I really do like that. If you guys want to check that out, I recommend you go and watch it. Funimation has it. I'm pretty sure it's on YouTube and Hulu, so check that series out. It's freaking amazing. The next series, which I actually do own, and I make a recommendation for it, and it wasn't the obvious choice, is Higurashi When They Cry. Now, the reason I say you should check that series out is because, as far as I can tell, as far as modern day horror anime goes, that's the main one that a lot of people mostly give out as the one you should check out. It's eerily creepy, a lot of cult stuff going on, a lot of mystery and murder, and it'll keep you going from episode 1 to episode 26 if you decide to keep watching it. Now, the thing you need to know is that season 1 is, as far as I can tell, is not told out of order so much as it's a retelling of just different stuff starting from the beginning. It seems like everything's just started randomly over and over again. All of that stuff is explained in season 2, not just why and how all of that stuff is going on, but what's actually going on really behind the scenes and what's really causing all that stuff to happen. And that's something I really appreciate about that. So season 1 and season 2 of that series, really good. Check it out. Now, on to the honorable mentions dealing with both anime and manga. The first series that I got right here that I want to tell you guys about is Muyo and Roji's Bureau of Supernatural Investigation. This series is literally like it is. You got a kid who thinks he's on top of the world. He's pretty much a prodigy at what he does. And they sentence supernatural entities, which like spirits and stuff like that, back to the underworld. Either they get passed on to heaven or they get sent down to hell. And it's a pretty interesting story because there's more to it than meets the eye. There's conspiracies and a lot of people who just want the Bureau to be taken down, and it's pretty cool how they have that going on. So I recommend you guys go and check out that series. The next one we got is Lament of the Lamb. And Lament of the Lamb is not really a horror series so much as it's a different take on the idea of vampirism. And this series pretty much takes the whole thing of vampires being scary, terrible monsters and turns it into a genetic disorder or genetic disease that this family is plagued with and has to deal with. And Bob Samurai did a review on that. If you guys haven't seen that, I recommend you go and check it out. He's pretty cool with what he does as well, and he goes more into detail with it than I have time to do right now. So go and check that out. I'll probably leave a link somewhere in the video as an annotation or something. So go and check that out. It's really, really neat. The next series I have is King of Thorn. Now this series isn't really so much a horror series, so much as it is just a survival. A girl has some kind of mystery disease, they don't have a cure for it, and she gets put in like a cryogenic sleep, kind of like at the beginning of Blue Gender. But however, she wakes up and finds that her and a lot of other survivors that were put in this facility are either dead or they're alive, and there's vines and weird thorns and stuff just growing in this facility, and they have to find a way out or find out what's really going on. This series had me on the edge of my seat, literally like it said it would, and I loved every single minute of it. So if you're into horror, psychological survival of the fittest kind of things going on, I recommend you go, and like even action too, I recommend you guys go and check out King of Thorn. And that was also made into an anime movie that was dubbed and released by Funimation, so you guys can buy it or watch that somewhere if you want to. Next, Death Note. Now, I know most people probably already know about Death Note, but in my opinion, Death Note really gets me, really gets my head. I really like the mind games that are played between Light and L, and I really just like that mind game feeling that they have going. Now, the anime was good in my opinion, but for me, strictly just for my own personal thing, I liked reading the series more so than I liked watching it. But to each their own, right? So that was part of the manga that I don't have, and now I'm going to talk about a few of the anime and manga that I do have right here that are honorable mentions. Maybe you guys might be interested in that. This series is Le Portrait de Petit Cosette. Now, this series deals with the vengeful ghost or the spirit of a girl who's trapped in a glass. She was murdered, and she meets this guy named Avery, who just so happens to be either an artist or he's looking after this antique shop for his uncle. And since he looks so much like her killer, she forces the undying goal of taking on the sin of this girl, and eventually he falls in love with her so much that he almost goes insane. Now, is this series good as far as anime goes? Artistically speaking, yes. Story-wise, trying to understand it's kind of hard to follow. There was a manga series, but I don't really think that's any better. But I recommend you guys go and check it out if you're interested. It's really, really trippy. Really cool, though. Next, honorable mentions. Higurashi. You can read the series, but it's more entertaining just to watch. I mean, not entertaining, but I like watching the anime more so than the manga, and the manga doesn't feel as good as the anime. It just doesn't to me. That's just my own opinion. You can read it if you want to. It's Higurashi. Next, we have 7 Billion Needles, which kind of, if you guys are into the current anime season that is going on, it's kind of like Parasite, except for this host or this alien that comes down to Earth and takes over this girl's body isn't necessarily evil so much as he's just trying to hunt down these other aliens that are trying to destroy Earth. And so far, what I've read, it's a pretty good series. I only have volumes 1 and 3, but I need to get volumes 2 and 4. But if you guys want more detail on that, go and check out Arch's manga review of this series. He's a pretty cool guy. A lot of unboxings, lots of anime stuff too, and he's also a good artist. So check out some of that if you're interested. Next series I got is Variant. And I'm almost done with this series. I think I'm missing like 1 volume, but it's about this girl who wakes up one morning and her arm is turned into a chimera, which is kind of, I guess if you're Full Metal Alchemist kind of thing, you can kind of guess as to what it is. But she wakes up and finds that she's kind of slaughtered her entire family. And that's not a secret, and it's not a spoiler because you see it literally within the first few pages of reading it. From there, she gets taken in by the Japanese government, and she has to live her life with them, going and killing these other chimera, and really just her having to cope with the idea of killing her family by accident, not on purpose, but on accident, and living out her life under surveillance 24/7 all the time. And it's a pretty good series from what I've seen, so definitely give that a read if you guys have the chance. Last series, which is an honorable mention, but I don't know if I can honestly say you can read this or not, but it's called Ice Blade. And this is volume 3, but so I don't really know too much as to what's actually going on in the story. But one thing I can say is that if you guys ever see this series, do not buy it. Do not buy this volume, this series, whatever. Because the company that did this was Manga Online or Entertainment or whatever. And there are so many translation issues that did not go over well in this volume. I'm guessing it's probably going to be the rest of the series. And it kind of makes me want to learn Japanese even more now. Because just stuff like this that's just like thrown together is pretty bad. The artwork's pretty good though, for the most part. You know, artwork's pretty good. Pretty solid. You know, yeah, artwork's pretty solid, but crappy translation job. So if you guys do see the series or you're fluent in Japanese at all or any bit of it, I recommend you guys go and like buy the volumes yourselves and get the direct translation, because that one is really, really shoddy and bad. Also, I think it has a completely different name in Japan, so that's another big thing. I don't know what they were thinking about when they did that, but that's that. So that was my horror, anime, and manga recommendations list. I hope you guys enjoyed what I showed you and told you about. Maybe gave you guys some advice. Maybe gives you a little bit of insight as to what you could look at that might interest you as far as the industry goes in general. In the description below, I have a link to a huge list of different horror manga that I found from Tumblr that you guys might want to take a look at if you're looking for something to just get into it. If what I told you about you're not interested in, or you just want to find something else to read, there's a huge list of it, and it goes on and on. You'll find something that you'll like. Also, there is another link to another website that I've been going to as far as anime news and just funny anime lists and stuff in general that deals with this link anyway deals with different horror anime and different stuff that kind of deals with the horror genre and it's kind of creepy and grotesque and stuff like that that you guys might find interesting if you want to get into the whole horror genre. I'll be leaving that in the description as well. And if you guys don't already know, you can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. I'm still kind of getting used to Twitter, just to be honest with you guys, but I am frequently on Facebook, so you can see me posting different stuff like that from time to time, just from comments to videos, thoughts, ideas, whatever, it's going to be there. So with that being said, this is the Anime Blaze signing out, saying never doubt your capabilities, because you never know what you might be able to do, and I will see you in the next video. Later.